Hi, Sachin here today. I wanted to talk to you about the most precious thing we have in life today, which is our time. And so today we're going to be talking about leadership Tetris. This is a session that and a process that we've worked through with members of Project X that's led them to really be able to take better control of their time and focus it on the highest value activities. This was the third session we ran as part of a 3-session series. To help really intentionally and clearly set up your time to set you up for success and get some of that valuable time back. As a practice owner, we all know that one of the most precious resource we have is absolutely time. We think about money as a currency, but you can always go and make more money, but it's very hard, and some would say impossible, to actually physically create more time. However, it's the universal leveler. There are people in the world who have achieved amazing things and created massive impact, and they have no more time than us, but they do have a skill and a gift around making better use of that time. And so this process and this part of this process will allow you to start thinking about how you address your time and make some tangible changes to allow you to have more control over your time. So let's hop into the slides and go through it. So why is this important, first of all? Well, at the moment, at the time of recording this, we're, 19 months, bit more maybe, into a pandemic. And so in this time, what we're hearing from owners and they're telling us about their team members is that teams are just feeling knackered and tired after this pandemic time and during this pandemic. And so you might be feeling that you've just got no mojo and you are just tired. You want a break and you're ready to slow down a bit. Just take a breath after all the change, essentially a decade or more, or 1.5 decades of change in 1.5 years. Really massive, fast-paced change, as well as the need to massively be able to scale up, such as with the vaccination process, to be able to meet the needs and the requirements to allow us to open up as a country a little more. And so you may feel like you've been really busy, but perhaps not as effective as you want to be. You're just rushing around with, juggling loads of balls in the air, but nothing's quite landing how you had envisaged or expected or wanted it to. And the most frustrating is probably sometimes when you look back, you could get into a situation where you look back and think, I've been so busy, I've done so many things, but I still don't have as much as I would have expected to actually show for it. And with this extra time that so many of us have had being locked down, etc., it could have been easy to turn that time into more work, more busyness, but not necessarily more productivity and more end product. You only get paid for what you ship after all. And so what you want instead is to feel in control, much like the plane goes in autopilot. You want to be able to take the reins at some time to allow you to actually control the direction before you reset that autopilot to then go in the direction that you have intended, not that others have intended. So you want to take control over your destiny and your destination. You want to feel energized. It's, like we just said, it's been a tough, time, and when you're doing activities that drain you of energy, that really does affect your mojo. But there are other activities, and you'll know what they are for you. They'll be different to you as they are for your colleagues or your business partners. They'll be different to what it is for me. But there are tasks, 2 types of tasks. There are life-giving and life-sucking, we call them. So energizing, things that replenish you, and other activities that really take away from your energy. And we want to eliminate the things that are life-sucking and really focus on the things that are energizing. And so that's a fundamental behind these principles that we're going to discuss. Next, we want to be super effective. We want to be super effective and targeted and focused in the activities that we are doing. And so that means really narrowing down what we do, because with focus comes great power. And of course, ultimately, we want to probably work less but get a better result. It's the power of leverage, where you don't feel as if you're continually working, and actually at times you may feel like you're working not enough, but the output, what you ship, is significantly greater, and that's through the power of leveraged effort and the power of focusing on your genius, what you're best at, so that others can do the same and support you in your journey. So your question is going to be, how do we do this? How do we create this? How do we get to this result? And so that's what we're gonna do now. Now you should have this workbook as well. So you'll want this. It's called Leadership Tetris. I'll show you on the screen, and there's a few elements there that we're going to talk through in a moment. So make sure you've got this at hand, because you'll need this to do the work. But first we'll cover the key principles. Here we go. So what are the 5 principles? So we need to design our time and not live by default. That means we need to be really methodical and clear about how we approach the creation of our time and our days and our weeks and our months and our years. And that is by design, not by default, not under other people's control. Now, many of us as practice owners will be clinicians, and so parts of our diary will be controlled by others. We will be out of control in those specific times. However, you can create guardrails and frameworks within which others can operate to make the very best use of that time. Aside from that time which you've allocated to consulting, the rest of the time needs to be carefully designed around what's most useful, important, and beneficial and energizing for you. Next, as general practitioners, the majority of us, or practice owners, we can be, a jack of all trades and sometimes master of none. And so that can mean that a day may involve flitting and floating between multiple competing types of work and priorities. The thing with that is that switching your brain from one mode to another can be pretty difficult, and so wherever possible it's important to theme your days, and the themes that we recommend are in days, so that's where your theme is around consulting; on days, where your theme is on your business, like business development; buffer days, where you're preparing for your in days or your on days; and off days. So a buffer day is a preparatory day where you're really doing the behind the scenes work, so that when normally you're on the business day, you can really deliver effectively in terms of your business development work. So that's typically what a buffer day would be, and off days are really important. And you should ideally only have one key theme for your day, so that you can really set a very clear intention and further planning around what you're focusing on for that time. Now, once you've set those, you've designed your days and your weeks, then you've also themed your days. Then the next stage is to fill your diary weekly. And what that means is filling those different types and pieces in your diary so that they correspond to the highest value activities, the most energizing activities that are right for you. And we'll go through a process in a moment that I'll show you in this workbook that I'll touch on that will help you do that. And then, of course, we have to block the most important days. So for you, they'll be different to me, which will be different to the next person, but I would suggest that those will centre around some key types of days and activities that are important in your life. They may be birthdays, anniversaries, important events, children's education, holidays, a whole variety of things, and we'll have a quick look at that in the workbook shortly. Now, once you've done all that, and ideally it would start analog, then worry about choosing your weapon. So there are so many productivity tools, so many calendar tools, so many different types of tools you can turn to fix this problem of time. But the reality is the tool is just a vehicle. The actual decision making is what's most vital. So we can easily move from tool to tool to tool to try and get the the right thing to help us. But the reality is the tool comes secondary after we've actually chosen how we want things to look for us. And so the tool is the last piece of the puzzle, not the first piece. But it can be really easy to get seduced and hooked on all these different tools and then spend our time trying to make one tool work or another tool work or another tool work, when in reality what we needed to sort out was the fundamental decision making that I'm going to take you through. So now that we've talked through this stuff, we're going to hop into the workbook and go through that in a little bit of detail. Now, what I want to make clear before we do that is that what I'm going to show you now, Leadership Tetris, was part of a series of a piece of work we did in Project X with our Project X members. And those pieces of work started with something we call a leadership time audit, which is a process we go through to really work out where you're spending your time at the moment. Then we did some work around the leader's roadmap, which is really nutting out where our time is most valuably spent and where we can leverage others' effort around time. And it's only once you've done those two pieces of work that you are able to create the key ingredients for your week. And once you have the key ingredients for your week, you can then go on and just like Tetris, fit the different pieces together to create that perfect week for you. So I'm just going to move into this workbook so I can talk through that a little for you. So here we go. So the first thing we want to do is populate this column, which is what are the key ingredients for a week. Now, in our Project X membership, we went through a whole significant process with our members to help define what those key ingredients are. And if that's something you're keen to get help with, then feel free, if you're watching this live in Facebook, put a comment type below, which is Tetris, and I'll message you and we'll work on that together. If you're watching this on a web page later, then you can click through and you'll be able to go through to answer a few questions and arrange a conversation so that we can talk about how we can help you. Now, so that first piece is around really clarifying for yourself what the key ingredients for an ideal week are. And if you have ideal weeks, then you'll be able to build ideal months, which will help you build ideal quarters, which will help you build ideal years. So that's the first piece. Then what we need to do is decide, first of all, what theme is the day. So that's here. What is the theme of your day? Is it an in day, an on day, a buffer day, or a free day? Next, what's the purpose of this day? What's the thing you want to achieve this day? What's the clear intention for that day? After that, what are the ideal ingredients for this day? Now, in this, we would pull across ingredients from here that you want to pick to make up that day. And then we want to decide after that, who do you want to be with during or work with during this day? Is it a day you want to spend with those that are nearest and dearest to you, your family, your friends, when we're allowed? Who do you want to be with in that time? Be really clear on that intention. And finally, you've set your purpose above. Next, you're setting what is the ideal result for each day. Is it, for example, a family day? You just want to create memories for life. If it's it's a project you're working on, you want to, create opportunities to grow your business towards your goal. What is the actual result you want to create? It might be a specific result. You may be working on a mass vaccination process at the moment, for example, and your result is, at the end of that day, you want the whole team to be fully clear on how you're going to deliver that. So let's get really clear on these 5 elements to create your day. Once you've done that, you can do that for each week, each day of the week, and after that, that gives you a design for how your weeks are going to run, and then you can fill each of those days according to what's most pressing at that time and what's most important for you to focus on at that time. But your overall meta design is there using this framework. Of course, then you're gonna think, you know what? That's all great, but I'm going to have obstacles. Absolutely, 100% you're going to have obstacles. So the next piece of work is really we won't spend too much time on it now because I'm already 15 minutes in, but you then use the next sheet to work out your main obstacles and brainstorm how you can overcome those obstacles. And so I think that this isn't a one-off process. This is a continual process. It's a journey of moving to higher value tasks and higher value activities continually delegating off lower value tasks and activity. And as you are able to develop that discipline and able to elevate, you can do that with the rest of your team, so you elevate together. So it's not something you can do in isolation as a one-off. It's something as part of a continual journey of improvement. And that's the important thing to understand. And remember that as a one-off, you'll get some improvement, but if you want the real transformational change, it's an ongoing process, and it's helped with accountability and being around the right people. So as I said, if you want help with this, the way you can get help is type Tetris below. Send me a message if you're watching this live on Facebook, and if you're watching this later on a web page, if you click through, there's a few questions you can answer, and then we can arrange a conversation about how we can help you significantly reduce the impact of a lack of time in your life and help you create more time for you and the things that are most important for you, so that you can get the results. And what we talk about in Project X is success in heart, mind and wallet, which is our wish for you to create really the life you want and deserve. So I've been Sachin. Take care, enjoy, download the workbook and get on with the work and start to get some of that time back. Take care. Bye-bye.